Hey guys, it is Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. Um, so today's video, I just wanted to do a quick one. I've been wanting to do this for a while. Um, just trying to find the time and the schedule. It's actually about 12:30 in the middle of the night. I'm gonna leave for work in about an hour. Um, so anyway, what I wanted to talk about is horsepower in this video. I know it's a little different from the music stuff that we always talk about, but you know, I'm I'm an automotive lover too, as much as I'd say almost as much as I am a music lover. My dad was a mechanic, um, so he got me started doing motor jobs when I was like 14 years old, removing and replacing engines and basic mechanic stuff, basic maintenance on cars and stuff like that. So just always been something I've liked to do. When I was growing up, a friend of ours was a monster truck driver. So he would come around. He was always automotive and stuff, into the automotive stuff too. And so anyway, I look at channels like Nick's Garage and some of the other big automotive. We watch Uncle Tony's videos all the time. And I noticed recently or lately, there seems to be this guy who shows up on Nick's Garage channel, and anybody that sees this video, if you watch Nick's Garage, you probably know who he is. I'm not going to drop any names here or anything like that, but this guy's pretty well known. So he likes to talk about, he'll put something like, okay, if Nick has a video where he's got a 440 that's putting out like 425 horsepower in a dyno, this guy will come up with a post like, oh, well, 425 horsepower is the old fake gross number, and it's actually 350 when installed in the car, and a 2019 5.7 liter makes 25 more. Big deal. Some stupid crap like that. So I wanted to kind of go over the differences a little bit, and hopefully we don't make this video too long, because I got to get ready for work. So let's talk about this. First of all, gross horsepower is the maximum potential of the engine when installed on a dyno. That motor can have one of those fancy Mosier style water pumps on it. It doesn't have an air cleaner on it. It's not spinning an air AC compressor. It's not turning a power steering pump. It's not turning an AIR pump, or as Ford called them back in the day, a thermactor. It does not have a full exhaust system on it. But to use the term fake, that's kind of silly to use a term like that. Gross horsepower is the maximum potential horsepower that your engine could make before any of those accessories I just mentioned were applied. Excuse me. Now you have SAE net horsepower, which was adopted around 1971. Manufacturers started using those numbers, publishing those numbers. And what they wanted to try to do was come up with a horsepower number for the engine that was closer to the engine being installed in the car. Closer to what it was in air cleaner, the accessories I just mentioned, a full exhaust system, that sort of thing. So, it's kind of like your paycheck at work. Your gross pay is your gross pay. That is a real number. That's not a fake number. Sadly, that's before those wonderful people get a hold of it and tax the crap out of it. If you're like me, anyway. And then your take-home pay much like SAE net horsepower, after, all the equipment is installed, they want to try and get a number that's a little closer to the engine being installed in the car. That's what they were going for with that. That number's actually been revised, I think, I know of once over the years, because in 2006, I worked for an Acura dealer in Service Drive and saved up my money and I bought an '04 TL. Now, in 2004, the 3.2 liter engine that was installed in the TL was rated at 270 horsepower. Now, that same engine, a year later, absolutely no changes to that engine whatsoever. Same exact engine, transmission, everything. Well, they went to a revised way that they measured the SAE net horsepower. That 270 horsepower was now a 258 horsepower. And some cars, when they revised whatever it was that they revised in that time, some of your performance cars, I remember hearing, they actually went up a little bit on the horsepower. So, SAE net's pretty good, but really, if you're really concerned about the numbers, the most important one you want is how much of that horsepower is getting to the wheels. Is the problem with SAE net is it does not take into account the number of different variations that you could get in a car back in the days. Like, back to the fella who likes to post in those Nick's Garage videos and some of the other people's videos that operate dynamometers. Oh, well, that's a fake number. This is a real number. Well, the problem with SAE net, and what I would say to him, is that it does not take into account the fact, okay, we're going to present you with a scenario right here so that you understand where I'm going with this. We're going to take two mid-1990s General Motors pickup trucks. Chevy, GMC, whatever your poison. Pick your poison. One's going to be a half-ton short box, short bed truck with a 5-speed. Guy wants it for his farm. He's not interested in options or accessories. He bought it with no air. All he wanted was the V8. Okay, so it's a mid-90s, so you get the throttle body injected V8 with like 200 horsepower, or whatever they were, 200, maybe 220 horsepower. So he ordered a truck with the V8, no air, no steering, no power steering. You're basically just turning the water pump and the alternator. And it's got a 5-speed. And because it's a half-ton truck, it's going to be GM corporate 8.5-inch 10-bolt rear. Yeah. And let's say, and you know what? Let's just make it fun. It's two-wheel drive. Two-wheel drive, and it's an open rear. Doesn't even have, well, you know what? It can be a posi. Who cares? Who cares at this point? I think my point will be made in a minute. Now, truck number 2, the identical truck. This guy ordered it as his work truck, and it's going to be all the fancy options in it because he's going to take it to the job site. He wants air, steering, brakes, the whole frickin' every option on the list. And truck 2, let's mention, is a 2500 series with a GVWR rating of over 8,600 pounds. So that means it's going to have a GM corporate 14-bolt rear end, which takes a lot more power to turn than a 10-bolt rear end. It's not a dolly, It's just a 2500 series, 3/4 ton truck, heavy-duty truck, about 8,800 pounds GVWR. You take both those trucks, now mind you, that truck's automatic. Got an automatic, 4L80 ER, because it's heavy duty, so they're probably going to put a 4L80 ER behind it instead of a 4L60. Let's strap that to the dyno. I'm going to strap them to a chassis dyno. We can use a dyno jet. use a dyno jet. Don't have to be a Mustang dyno. I think you get where I'm going with this. Guaranteed, the half-ton truck with the 5-speed, turning the 8.5-inch 10-bolt rear end, will lay down more horsepower at the wheels. Okay? Guarantee it. Because it don't have to spin a torque converter, it don't have to spin that big heavy-duty transmission, and it don't have to turn a 14-bolt rear end, and it doesn't have all the options. It does have all the, well, the half-ton truck doesn't have all the options. It doesn't have to turn that 14-bolt rear end. It doesn't have to spin that big torque converter and that big transmission. That little half-ton farm truck, work truck, little farm, guy taking it out on his farm, is going to lay down more horsepower at the wheels. Probably quite a bit more. And that's the point that I'm making. The horsepower that gets to the wheels is what's more important. That's what's more important here. I know we're talking about pickup trucks. There's race cars. Really the horsepower, when the horsepower matters is you're talking about going to the track and racing stuff. And back to the fellow with his posts. I guess his argument, the idea behind his arguments and his argumentative posts are that newer's better. So it seems to be the direction he's going. And I would hope that after like 50 years of engineering, the Chryslers had 50 years of that time to engineer that Tickmaster 5.7 liter engine they call a Hemi, but it's not really a Hemi because it doesn't have a true hemispherical combustion chamber. I call it the Tickmaster 5.7. Anybody that knows those engines knows why I would call it the Tickmaster. How many camshafts and lifters have they torn up because of the bad design? But that's a discussion for another day. I just wanted to discuss horsepower here a little bit and kind of give you guys an idea of what's the difference between SAE net versus gross. And also, when you put your car on a dyno jet, here's where it gets a little tricky too. When people put their car on a dyno jet or even a Mustang dyno, a lot of times they're tuning. They're tuning to try and get maximum horsepower. So it's not uncommon for somebody to, you have an old GM with a carburetor, a little quadrajet, like flip the lid on the air cleaner like those guys used to do. It makes it sound a little different too. And then you also you do stuff with the air cleaner and all that, all that stuff. You're not running the air conditioning while you're on the dyno, So they're always looking for stuff, ways to maximize the horsepower when you put it on a dyno. So just keep those things in mind. There really is no right or wrong answer. It's just how, keep in mind, gross horsepower does not take into account accessories. It's not fake. It just doesn't take into account accessories installed on the vehicle or a full exhaust system, so on and so forth. So anyway, I hope you guys learned something from this video. Hopefully this video is helpful to you. We're going to try to get it uploaded later on today. As I don't have time, I got to go to work in a few minutes. And so we'll upload it when I get home from work. So hopefully early this afternoon, around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll have this uploaded for you. Y'all have a goody-goody. Keep tuning in. There'll be more videos like this and other music-related stuff to come. Take care. Have a good day.